Sira Course, Episode 7, The Battle of the Trench. Not long after the Battle of Uhud, the Jewish tribe of Banu Nadir sent an important delegation to the Quraysh in Mecca. Once ousted by the Muslims from Medina for breaching their end of the treaty and attempting to kill the Prophet, peace be upon him, the tribe had made an offer to the Quraysh of Mecca to lead an army to Medina once again, and in the process they were able to bring together a bunch of other tribes sending mercenaries toward the cause against Islam. It is estimated that an army of 10,000 fighters from this Confederate army headed toward the city of Medina al-Munawwara. The Muslims had approximately only 2,500 fighters at the disposal of Prophet Muhammad to defend the city. As was the norm for him, the Prophet consulted his companions once again to discuss all the possible options at their disposal. A famous Persian companion by the name of Salman al-Farisi had come up with an interesting proposal. He suggested that the Muslims dig up a trench on the battlefront, something that the Arabs have never known as a tactic of war. The idea gained quick approval, and the decision was taken to go forth with digging a trench on the northern front between them and the enemy. Medina was impenetrable for large armies from the rest of the other three sides, as those were either surrounded by mountains or trees. Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, personally took part in digging of the trench with his blessed hands with the rest of his companions. That trench played a huge role in preventing the advancing enemy from penetrating through, leading to a 20-odd day siege on the city of Medina. The two armies were deadlocked, as the large number of fighters and cavalry of the Quraysh were ineffective against the trench tactic of the Muslims. Because the Arabs had never seen trenches being used as a tactic, the Quraysh and their allies were unsure of how to handle this situation. They made many attempts through nightly raids to break through the trench and make an opening, but to no avail. And while the siege was getting longer, the weather had also added to their share of bad circumstances. During the middle of the siege, rumors had surfaced that the only Jewish tribe left in Medina at the time, Banu Qurayza, had decided to break away from the agreement they had made with the Prophet Muhammad. This had emboldened the enemy, as Banu Qurayza was now able to attack from the south, from within the city, posing a major threat for the Muslims. Upon hearing the news, the Prophet sent 100 men to protect the city in case the rumors were actually true. The men were instructed to pray in loud voices to create the illusion of a large army. Two things played a crucial role in ending the siege. The first was the coming of Nu'aym bin Mas'ud, the leader of Banu Ashja, to the Muslim camp, wanting to meet the Prophet, peace be upon him. Nu'aym revealed to the Prophet that he had converted to Islam, but no one had yet found out. Upon the Prophet's request, Nu'aym went around meeting with every Confederate ally group involved in the siege separately, managing to incite them against one another and creating doubt in their loyalties. The second was the oncoming bad weather, which brought violent cold winds, uprooting some of the tents in the Confederate camp. They were unable to keep their fires burning, and along with the shortage of food, it had become extremely cold for them to keep holding up the siege any longer. The next morning after, the Confederate army were nowhere to be seen. The Muslims had successfully managed to defend Medina once again. Despite being well dug in, it was also very tough for the Muslim camp to endure through the siege. The nights were cold, and food supply ran terribly short.